Awesome. Hello, everybody. How great is this? How fun is this? What a great way to spend a Friday right before the holiday season. Be sure to share and socialize what you've learned so far. That previous presentation, that demo was awesome. George did a great job with that. It's super cool to see us finally getting past SCORM and moving to CMI5 and having the tools to do that. I'm sure we're all super happy about that. Many of us have been around for quite some time. Megan talked a little bit about it this morning. How many of us have been around since the the very beginning of our conversations and our time to vote and discuss xAPI, and it's just great to see it starting to come to fruition. And thank you, George, and the Rusty team. Again, make sure you socialize what you've learned today, share it, get the word out there. So for HR Open Standards, it's an interesting situation that we're here today and that we get to talk about this because data standards are changing so much and are becoming so critical to the future of HR tech and learning technology. I just give a little statement about HR Open Standards. We are the only independent, nonprofit, volunteer-led organization dedicated to the development, innovation, and promotion of a standard suite of specifications. We've been around for over 20 years. We're the longest running standards body in the HR tech space. It is really an honor to be here and to talk to you a little bit about today about HR Open and xAPI and the xAPI profile server. I've got two of my colleagues with me today, Jason Haig and Andy Johnson, and let me just give you a quick introduction to the rest of our work group. We've got the work group members, Naomi Boyer, again, Jason Haig, Jim Goodell, Andy Johnson. I saw Florian was here today, Florian Tolk, and several others that contribute from time to time. We do meet every other week in Zoom. I wanted to say in person, but today in person is Zoom. And we meet at Mondays at 9 a.m. In the weeks in between, we try to do virtual updates. Please feel free to join us at any time. You can reach out to Jim Ireland, or the Executive Director of HR Open Standards. His number and his emails on the screen, and you can always contact us through our social media. I've lost a little bit of my animation as I've converted to a PDF here, but I want to start talking a little bit about standards and what is all of this, right? We've talked about SCORM and CMI5, and now we're talking a little bit about HR Open Standards. You know, what does all this mean, and how do we bring it all together? It's interesting because we are all volunteers. We are all interested in advancing not just data standards so that systems can talk to one another and that we can easily and quickly build integrations, but also so that we can support the next generation of human capital management, of HR information systems, of learning management systems, and applicant tracking systems. The way in which we are going to focus on the individual as we talk through our presentation today, and how we're using xAPI to make that happen. So a couple things on the screen. You see the xAPI profile server. That's part of our project. We're building a profile for HR Open Standards, and also the T3 Innovation Network. It's a big part of what we're doing and what we're working on together. We want to enable the learner wallet. We want to enable transactions that individuals can control. And we want to ensure that we are providing opportunities for individual career credentials and beyond education, but also into skills and competencies and data that we can transact on, that we as humans can transact on and work together to enable the future, the new generations of these applications as they're coming out, and to be able to give every individual power over their records, over their training history, and their skills and competencies and micro credentials. All this leads to and opens up a talent marketplace that we can work in, that new companies can start up in. By adopting standards, you are able to quickly join the marketplace. You're able to quickly stand up endpoints that can be used to exchange learning data as well as HR tech data, to talk about validated credentials, background checks, assessment data such as skills and competencies, assessment results, and other learning opportunities, to be able to have those all be part of your learner wallet, and to be able to get that data available in a marketplace where HR tech and learning technology systems work and seamlessly exchange data. Please feel free, if you have questions, put them in the chat, and we will address questions at the end. The key to all of this, to this data interoperability, is data standards, and it's having data standards that can be quickly identified, easily adopted, and repeated, and that we can get all the capability for all these systems to talk to one another, for a sender system to send data on behalf of an individual to a receiver system, for an individual to be able to broker that and determine what records they want to transfer to the job application for where position they might be applying to, or for their current employer to have skills and opportunities made available through your learning platforms, whether it's an LMS or a learning experience platform. At Degreed, we track skills for all of us. Every employee at Degreed is a lifelong learner, and we consume and bring together all of those skills and all that information, and it provides opportunities for mentoring and job shadowing and future growth, even into full-time positions. The key to all of this is being able to have transactional data that can be shared across platforms. We've got several milestones to our success as a work group. We want to empower individuals. That's a major part of this version of the API that we're working on. On this version of the profile, the xAPI profile that we're working on with our technical documentation, we want to ensure equity, diversity, and inclusion. We want learning to be transactional and have interoperability so systems can easily talk to one another, in an open marketplace, a talent marketplace where all these systems can operate together, can talk the same language, or have a translatable and transactional records that can be shared between platforms, even if it's translating skills from a competency to competencies to or communication to communications, or to facilitating meetings. There's so many different ways that skills can be defined. We've got to be able to translate those records into a common language that we can share, and having an open marketplace to operate in, and having data standards allows companies to enter that marketplace and for us all to work together. So standards adoption drives a lot. It makes data translatable across domains. It enables quick deployment. Everything can be viewed as transactional, and those xAPI statements can be used to share data between platforms. Learning ends up being packaged as data and shared. Standards are great for startups. They allow us to get away from so many custom API integrations. And it's just a great way for a company to, download the standard, implement it out of the box, and get started. So data standards for individuals. We know the chief human resource officers are trending towards a focus on people. It's maybe not a result of the pandemic, but it's something that's happened over the past couple of years. Employee-centric platforms are beginning to become normal for or a normal aspect of a human capital management system. We are looking in and focusing on individual career credentials. Um, the self-sovereign learner wallet from the T3 initiative is a way for learners to have all of their career credentials together, formatted in a record, a learner and employee record format that is a common language that can be used and allows that learner to control their wallet and share those LER records between platforms, and gives learners or individuals or candidates, control over their wallet, and the ability to decide and determine how and when they share data with different platforms. I got to talk about skills. It is, we're trying to make skills the currency of work, skills and competency, and even micro credentials. It is likely the future, beyond just the your educational records, but the very specific skills that you develop. I know with assessments, we have assessment results that contain assessment scores, but also contain information about the different skills that are being measured. And then there's individual assessment items. That's part of the work we're doing with this version as well, is we want to break the individual assessment item level data away from the assessment vendor's platform and make it something that can be shared in a transactional manner with an LRS that the individual or the customer chooses to specify. And those individual assessment items, they validate skill proficiency level. They allow you to not only have your skill data and your skill ratings, but to have validation that those skill ratings are correct, and that you're constantly validating and revalidating. And every individual assessment item focuses on a particular area, a skill or a competency. And the way those roll up into an assessment result is sometimes, an assessment might cover 4, 5, or 6 different skills as it's rolling up the score and sending the results. But what you don't always get is the breakdown of how learners or individuals have achieved or accomplished those ratings, those proficiency levels for each of the different skills that are being measured at the item level. By getting that data out of the assessment vendor's platform and into an LRS, you can begin to disaggregate. You can begin to look at the different skills individually, and it allows you to identify skill gaps, but it also allows you to focus on strengths. So today, our existing data standard, it's a proven API standard. It's been out there for assessment order request, assessment order acknowledgments, assessment results. It's downloaded over 30,000 times from the HR Open website. It's widely known, widely adopted. It's a JSON API for an ATS or an LMS to request an assessment from an assessment vendor. There is also an existing structure, a robust structure, to transfer assessment results so that you can get the score, you can get a link to a report, which might have more detailed information. You can, of course, get the status that the assessment has been completed, and you can transfer all of that with the existing API today, and we will continue to support that going forward. But what we've started to do is we've started to talk about how we can get a little more transactional data, how we can expand the standard to support item level data. And that's where xAPI comes in. It is the perfect protocol to share this transactional data. It has all of the capabilities that we're looking for to take a snapshot of an assessment, to take a snapshot of each assessment item, and to be able to transact on that. We're going to be embedding an LRS endpoint into the assessment order request. That's the only change that we're making to the existing API JSON on the front end, on the request side. And then we're building a profile, and we're building our documentation to support the assessment vendor generating and forwarding xAPI statements to that particular LRS endpoint or multiple LRS endpoints. We know that assessment results can be forwarded as xAPI statements, but what we really have discovered is that the item level data, where the very specific skills or competencies or micro credentials are measured and determined, those can also be shared with xAPI statements. It allows us to get so much more data, and it allows that the individual to have all that information available in their wallet. It eventually can be transacted upon as a learner record, but it's an aggregation of all this data that's being captured and collected as the assessment's being completed by a learner or a candidate. So how are we doing this? It's really interesting to think about how this all got started and how this idea arose and how the synergies between xAPI and learning technology and HR Open and the HR tech space have started to surface, and how our work group has been exploring this, writing use cases for it. It's been about 2 years. We've had several contributing members along the way. And we've talked about in HR Open, we've talked about xAPI for about 5 years, and it's just finally so exciting to be part of this and to be part of this work group. It's such a great work group, but we're building an xAPI profile. That's where we started. Is not just to write the use cases and to have our solutions, the problems we're attempting to solve, and the solution to those problems. But we started really getting down to the nuts and bolts when we started building our xAPI profile. We are working on and providing the xAPI technical documentation. Jason and Andy have been really helpful in not just the profile, but the technical documentation. Florian has contributed as well. It's been excellent to work with these guys. We are almost done. We plan to release this in the spring of 2022. Our technical documentation is near completion. Anybody wants to take a look at that, we're happy to share that in our work group meetings. We are updating HR Open Standards technical documentation. So we'll not only have the xAPI profile and the technical documentation that accompanies that, but on our HR Open our website, in our wiki, in our GitHub, we will have the technical documentation that accompanies every HR Open Standards release and every API that we support, every endpoint. We will update our schema to support the LRS endpoint, and that will all be available once the profile is completed, the technical documentation is completed. We want to make a working solution to test all this out. And then we will go through the standard HR Open process to, release and make a API standard or publicly available. So I don't want to spend too much time on this. I know that I've talked a good bit, but we do have just a standard process that we follow at HR Open. We use it quite a bit. It's being used by the T3 initiative. It's being used by other work groups. We're talking a little bit with Velocity Foundation about it as well. Happy to share this with anybody who wants to know a little bit more about our process, but we basically start with a set of rules and guidelines to begin a project. We have this project life cycle. Happy to share the slide deck after the meeting. We basically have folks submit a proposal. This has been done quite some time ago for this work group. We have a project plan. We meet a certain day of the week. We have specific deliverables and a timeline. We always start with our projects. We always have team. Of course, we have roles for every project, but we always start with our use cases, with the problems we're analyzing and the solutions that we're proposing to those problems. So we work through the methodology. We build out the deliverable. We make decisions. We work together with a technical steering committee to in a common HR open common repository, because we share code as much as possible across different work groups. We have this collaborative environment. Another shout out to GitHub for all those of you on the call who like to work with GitHub. And we end up, eventually getting the steering committee approval, and we get, membership approval, and that's when a project, not just becomes a work group, but that's how the projects also go public and get released. And then we have our deployment. So it's a great process. It's proven. It's been used again and again. It works very well. We hope to make other xAPI profiles after this project's been released. Once we get our first iteration out in the spring, we're going to grow. We're going to continue to work on this. We're going to continue to focus on individual career credentials. We're going to continue to focus on skills and competencies and micro credentials and item level data and all those technical aspects of assessments that we believe are useful for the future economies, the currency of work in the future. And we also want to continue to work with and take advantage of all the opportunities that xAPI provides and all the synergies that we're discovering as we begin to work together. Maintenance, again, that's part of our iteration through the process as we not just produce the next version of the standard, but we'll begin immediately to work on the version after that as soon as our version is produced in the spring. And then just a couple other slides. I want to get to the last slide so I can put Jim's name on the screen. But it's again, it's great to work with this work group, with the folks who have joined me today for the demo, for the presentation. It's wonderful to be part of the xAPI party. Super cool. Again, please socialize what you learned today. Socialize what George shared with us in the first session, and socialize what you'll get to see here from my colleagues. I'm gonna pass it over to Jason and Andy for a little bit of a talk about the xAPI profile server, and then we'll come back later to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, great. Thanks, Jim. Can you stop sharing so I can start?
Yes.
All right, let's try
Thank
this.
you, Andy.
All right, so while that's loading, hi, I'm Andy Johnson, Specs and Standards Manager for the Advanced Distributed Learning Initiative. We've stood up with help from previous partners, we've stood up an xAPI profile server is what we call it. It's really intended to be more of a hub to find existing xAPI profiles and xAPI profile working groups to build profiles. This is still hanging. I guess I'll just kind of hope that kicks in. I'll just. Can you see my screen, Jim? Maybe it's just the UI UX for this thing. Can you see this profile server right now? Jim?
Oh, I'm here, Andy. I'm sorry, I was on mute.
No.
The mute monster got me. No, we can't see your screen.
Okay, it's just crunching. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Nope, it's me. Okay, so all right. Sorry. There's only one option, and I didn't realize I had to click the option and then click share. My fault. This is why you attend the training, folks. That's my bad for missing the training. So, all right. Sorry for the delay. So anyway, the xAPI profile server is a place to learn and understand profiles and all the different operations that you can do here. So we first of all provide some guidance for how to define use cases, actually author these profiles. Probably even more important, how do you search for and reuse existing concepts that are within profiles? It's kind of a RDF type of term. And that to kind of compare to xAPI language, is all the verbs, activities, context results that you would use, broken out and defined into granular terms. And reusing those is extremely important because otherwise the data you would have would become extremely fragmented, and you'd have to have too intimate of knowledge in order to find it. So if different people, for example, use different verbs for simply viewing an image or viewing a video, we would then have to become dependent of learning all of those verbs rather than just all gravitating towards one. So to kind of quickly walk you guys through what this profile server can do, I'm already logged in, but you can certainly log in. You can search for profiles. You can do search for pretty much anything. Are all listed here. Let's jump into the video profile because this one articulates well the different parts of a profile and how this profile server brings them to life. So you can see here just some basic metadata about the profile itself. You'll notice that the documentation is here. There's also and then there's also a link to the specific IRI that we use for the kind of the bucket this one has. So we want all our persistent IDs to start with a common IRI, and this IRI is what it is for the video profile. So these and this one specifically is version 1.02. So these are when we use a profile, we want to tag it in a statement in the context activities area. And that's how we know in any individual statement which profile it follows. The video profile has a number of concepts. And you'll see here that all of the concepts from the video profile are actually in the video profile. Profiles are allowed to cross-collaborate and share concepts. So you might actually have a lot of concepts in your own profile that are actually rooted in another. And that's fine. It doesn't mean anything in particular. It just means that you're reusing concepts, which is a good thing. So you can see here all the different concepts. Most of them are verbs and extensions. So actually, a lot of them are extensions. But you'll notice here that actually I misspoke. All the verbs you will not see all the verbs in the profile, but you can still use them when you're implementing a solution with a profile. So you'll see here there's only pause, played, and seeked. There's no completed here, right? A video, there is a way in the video profile to complete a video. It's when you finish watching it. That's actually a different verb in a different profile. You can still feel free to use that verb, and you can even reference it in statement templates and patterns, and that's all fine. But in order to kind of granularize how we do sharing and reuse, only the specific new ones are defined in a specific group. And that's kind of one of the transition points that we see between what a technical profile is, which is what the profile server handles, and what a conceptual profile does in terms of providing specific guidance and direction in a less technical way, more of a designer way. To kind of articulate what these concepts are used for, that's probably best to look at some statement templates. So for example, the completed I'll bring up. So there's different things that you can do in the video profile and specific statements you're going to expect. So if we wanted to complete a video, this, as you can see, this template, a statement template, is associated with the rules for completing a specific video. We can even look at actually this one doesn't have an example statement, but there are specific properties that go into what it means to complete a video. So in order to complete a video, not surprising, I need a verb completed and I need an object type video. But there are also some other rules that happen that there are specific things that we expect. So we expect an ID, statement ID, we expect a timestamp, we expect there's a length to the video, we expect there's time, we expect there's progress, completion threshold, played segments, and a session ID. And there are some loosely associated concepts that we can put in here as well. Now, these templates work together in patterns to kind of allow I guess I'd say cross-checking. So if you wanted to look at the data and see if it is indeed conformant to a profile, you would use patterns to do that. So essentially, these video profiles have to follow some of these specific patterns. So the primary, actually, let me go back to the primary pattern. So the primary pattern is that it's going to initialize, it's going to have some middle statements, and then it's going to terminate. And there's more technical parts to this, but there's also the idea that you could do a lot of other things in between. So all these things that you can do in between, you can play, pause, seek, volume change, enable closed captioning, complete, etc. And then finally, there are some, sorry, this is just saying that the all activities pattern can occur 0 or more times. I'm sorry for that. But basically, the expectation is that this will always happen. This is the primary, and this is expected to happen. This is the secondary, meaning this doesn't control that it can happen. The secondary here, the 0 or more, means these optional middle statements can happen, and these optional middle statements are all called out here. So essentially, all this works together to build rules for a profile, and the profile server can articulate that. Now, you'll notice here there's working groups as well. Right now, there's only one active working group that I am in, so I'm logged in. So this is actually just showing the working groups I'm a member of. For that case, I'm probably better off showing you how to create. I'll just create a new profile to kind of show off the coupling of that. So let's say I wanted to create a new profile. I'm not going to get too far into this, but basically, I need a URI. We don't anticipate on the profile server itself that this is a great tool that's going to offer all the collaborative components you might want. Sites like GitHub are really good at handling issues and those type of requests. This profile server might eventually grow into that, but for now, it's mostly meant to be a space to locate working groups and profiles and concepts and do that. So actually, let's just do that. Actually, I'm going to cut that off there. I don't want to get too deep into this because I do want to leave time for questions, and also I've probably talked over Jason long enough. Jason, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, no, that's fine, Andy. I'm just here for questions, just to help complement.
Okay, let's. I'm okay with going to questions. I do want to leave 10 minutes for that, so let's hop into questions.
While we're waiting for those to come up, I will share one thing. Let me see if I can share my screen as well.
You should be able to now. I stopped.
Okay.
Oh, and as Jim said, everything we're doing in the assessment profile effort, we're looking to reuse existing concepts wherever possible. It's very, we will probably define very few for the assessment profile, but we will define a lot of different patterns and templates.
One thing I wanted to share here real quick, and I think this is important. I've been involved with a lot of profile stuff since when I was at ADL, and even afterwards. We're doing a lot with our customers now. The profile server is awesome. It is great for, like Andy mentioned, discoverability, reusability of the existing stuff that's out there because it's been published in a kind of machine readable way, and it presents it in the browser, and you can search and find stuff. But a good exercise I found, we started with this group, is we came up with a human readable document, kind of a template for creating the profile. And this was a good first step because it really gets you thinking about, okay, what are all of the, not just the concepts we need, like the verbs, activity types, extensions, and all that. It helps you document those, maybe not always up front, but really helps you get into the statement requirements. So that which actually will derive into your statement templates. So we kind of came up with this format. This template's probably something we're going to propose to the IEEE group as we are working on a formal human readable document for the profile, as the profile spec is also moving to IEEE right after the xAPI spec. But this was a good exercise for us, and I believe Jim might agree, and Andy as well, because we we sit here and we document out, what are each of the statement requirements, or what are the statement templates that are kind of needed to be defined. And we have like this bulletized list format that allows you to identify what you want to set each of the properties to. And then you have a statement example template, and that actually helps you come up with a really valid syntax and everything like that. And this was useful for me because I've been involved with a bunch of other projects on profiles. Specifically, we're doing some stuff in the Navy right now, and I was able to take all of these human readable documents and more easily transfer these over into the profile server. If you start in the profile server, it's a little bit more not, I don't want to say cumbersome. It's just you may not know what all you want to put in at the time. So you may be coming back over a period of several months where, starting with this human readable document up front is a good idea for a group that's working on a profile, because it can kind of help you iterate and collaborate on what the requirements are for the profile before you start going and putting them in the profile server, because there's definitely a lot of opportunities to make mistakes in there. And you kind of want to go into the profile server with the kind of a clean profile, so you don't have to make a lot of mistakes, because I don't think right now you can delete some things when you get started. I know been in contact with Andy and Florian, and they're working on more updates to the profile server. So I think that's all I really wanted to share. I think that was a good starting point for this group, and that's it.
Yeah, Jason, I'd just jump in there too. We, each week we talk about the technical documentation, and it's, in our document, we have included some flow charts, some diagrams, a data dictionary. We've tables embedded for our concepts and our verbs, and it allows us to really talk through the need for a particular verb on a week by week basis, and we get great input because we've got so much industry expertise with Jim Goodell and others on the work group who have just a wonderful background on assessments in general and all the different types of simulations that we're thinking about, and everything from soldering pipe to you can think of simulations used in a medical situation, and until just psychometric behavioral assessments. We've got so much information that we've vetted out in our talks and through our document. And the document, it's a living document. It's on Google Docs. We share it. We work together on it from week to week, and because we're a volunteer organization, anytime somebody has an extra 15 minutes or a half hour, they go in. They might add some comments to the document. It gives us talking points at our next Zoom meeting, and we have discovered by just the process of building out that technical documentation that we didn't need as many verbs as I first thought. I thought of every possible, click you could have in an assessment, but it boils down to a small number of verbs, and that allows us to keep things simple and allows us to reuse a number of CMI5 verbs that we've borrowed from the CMI profile. I couldn't agree more, Jason. The technical documentation is absolutely the right place to start. And it has become, a talking point for our work group. And
yeah, I would argue that's equally important, if not more, than putting it in the ADL profile registry or profile server here. And the cool thing is, once you finish that technical document and you're ready to put it into the profile server, there is a metadata field in here for you to link to it. So, for example, I'm sure when we finish the HROS profile, we'll, I think you said the spring, Jim, you'll publish that out. You'll put that in the profile server here, but also have this, human readable version that's really handy for developers as kind of a reference, and they could go through and pull up the document. Similar. This is the Navy assessment one I mentioned earlier. So anyway, that's all good stuff. It's great to kind of see this stuff come together. The profiles effort has been something that's been in the works for many years now, and it's good to see a lot of communities starting to build stuff around it, especially HR.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. The profile server is almost like your bookends to using profiles. Like, you use the xAPI profile server to see, well, how if I wanted to do an assessed verb, what does that look like? And you go there and you find it, and then you realize, oh, look, there's a verb for this, or maybe there's a working group for this, and then you're able to join that working group. So on the flip side, if you're creating a profile, you want people interested, put the name out there and put the working group out there, and then try to attract some attention and collaborate on that problem. And then the other end of that, as Jason said, after you've done all the human readable stuff and you're finally ready to enter that technical profile, then the profile server is your place to publish that, so people can then find and reuse those terms.
Absolutely. We've only got a couple minutes left. Any questions? Happy to. We can always answer questions later in the day. You can also reach out. I did put my email address in. jelder@degree.com. Feel free to send me an email if you want to join some of our meetings. Happy to have you join us and join the conversation, and find a wonderful way to enjoy the discovery that we've made, the synergies that we're finding working together, and it's just really neat to be part of this movement towards individual career credentials. Otherwise, I think that's it. Thank you very much, Megan. Thank you, Liz.
Thanks all.